What is up, gamers? Now today is probably the earliest possible day that you can unlock US Agent for free. But if you're watching this video and you still haven't gotten here, don't worry, you still have 7 full days to unlock US Agent completely for free. And even if you miss that, you can still get him for free through upcoming token events. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to be the 10-year token event with the Sentry symbol, or if it's going to be another token event after that called Thunderbolts. I'm not sure, but it was mentioned in the patch notes. Now, before we get into the rest of the US Agent, well, I have to unlock him first, but before we get into the rest of the US Agent, rank up and unlock and build, I do want to give you guys a couple of tips here for the timeline quest, because I have unlocked now the hidden route, as you can see from the sort of yellowish tinge at the bottom there. And I do have a couple of tips. One, once you finish all 4 of the other routes, the Hawkeye route, the Wolverine route, the Iron Man route, and the Spider-Man route, spoilers, it's not actually those 4 characters, you have to go into the crafting, and you have to use the serum data, the 4 serum data that you should have by completing each one of the tracks, and you have to craft the anti-void serum. If you don't craft the anti-void serum, then it will not, the hidden route will not appear. Secondly, once you go back to the beginning, you have to go through the regular stuff. When you get here, you have to choose the Iron Man route to go down. And then once you go down to the bottom of the Iron Man route and you get to the split, you have to choose Sentry. And again, the route will appear as soon as you craft the anti-void serum. So if you haven't crafted the anti-void serum and you're here, go back and craft the anti-void serum so that this pops up. Don't make the mistake of going down the Iron Man or Spider-Man route again. It's not going to help. Thirdly, there are a couple of challenges that you can slow you down by 1 full day because they're not resettable. So for example, this one here requires you to collect 1 Otherworld battle reward, which means you can't finish all of your dailies for Otherworld battle before you get here. Otherwise, you'll be locked out for 24 hours. Another quest here that is going to lock you out if you're not careful, and if you don't have the resources, is the 10 sword enchants. Now, you can get swords through like other methods, but it's a bit of a pain in the butt. So just keep 10 swords available, or sorry, not keep 10 swords, keep 1 sword or 2 swords, I guess, and have enough runes of the unknown and enough gold to enchant them up to +5 each to make a total of +10. You can divide that however you want. It can be 3 swords, each to an average of +3, 3.3, but you sort of get the point there. Just keep enough of those materials around to enchant swords, because these quests are not in any of the other 4 routes, so it can be a little tricky. And so there you go. You have to fight the Void, which looks pretty cool because Sentry's kind of tweaking, and I thought it'd be apt to put in the Thunderbolts. He's gonna transform into the Void. Just got to beat him up. It's a very easy battle, and then boom, you're done. I think maybe US Agent strikes for you, and that's how you get him. But this is now the fastest and the cheapest, easiest way to, boom, unlock your 1-star US Agent. Now, if you're watching this video much further down the line and these events have already gone and passed, you can always pick up US Agent from the 30 Biometrics Daily sub. I don't recommend getting this sub just for US Agent, but if you have a bunch of premium characters like Leader, Sleeper, Sylvie, Kahori, etc. that you've missed out on, you can use 1 day of each to select them, and then you'll be able to unlock a bunch of characters and you can actually get some value out of it, in which case that's something that you may want to do. Now, as for the rest of the rank ups for US Agent, since he is a premium character and he doesn't have any method of farming for his biometrics other than the subscription that we just showed you, we're going to go ahead and use rank up tickets on him. You can use either a mega rank up ticket, which we get every month now from the daily from the monthly battle pass, or you can use individual 2 to 6 star rank up tickets, but just keep in mind that you're going to want to use one or the other of those. And just to show you guys here in the future pass, this future pass is actually accelerated even further, but you can see there at step 40, I believe it's usually at step 50, you get a free 6-star mega rank up ticket, which you should put towards premium characters first, because their biometrics are very difficult to get. After you get him to 6 stars, you can actually just throw another ticket at him. Believe it or not, you can use a mega tier 2 ticket to then just get him to tier 2 and skip all of the fuss, skip the mastery, skip the leveling process, and boom, you've got yourself a tier 2 level 60 John Walker. Now, as far as his supports go, he doesn't have any, and he just has the leadership. So depending on the kind of content that you want to bring US Agent into as a leadership for Thunderbolts, you may not need to get him to tier 2 at all. It really just depends, again, what content you want to take him into as a leadership, and then what the minimum requirements are for that game mode. If the minimum requirements for that game mode are just, you know, a 1-star character, then you just need to get him to 6 stars and you know, master the 6 stars. The reason why you still want to do that, which basically requires you to get him at least to level 60, tier 1, 6-star mastery, is because the leadership is going to get better as you get those yellow stars red. So you can't really just leave him at 1-star yellow or, you know, 1-star red, because then you're going to have a very weak leadership. But once you get him to 6 red stars, you're going to have this Thunderbolts allies only leadership. 30% basic attack at 40% HP. That's a pretty juicy combo of offense and defense. Could be good for PvP content, but we're going to have to wait and see a little bit more. Now, John Walker himself does have some pretty nice passives, so he may actually be quite interesting for PvP, despite lacking iframe ignore, because he has that pierce reduction that Punisher has as well, and then he has a bunch of other marquee abilities other than, you know, revive, immortality, and iframe ignore, which we've come to expect. But, you know, he has multiple forms of healing, damage reduction, super armor, all defense, so he may be quite spicy. But yeah, from here, you're then going to want to take him into World Boss Ultimate, or, you know, most likely World Boss Legend, either as a striker. You can't bring him into World Boss Legend as a playable character on the team of 3 to unlock his first potential. And that's what's going to allow you to then get him to tier 3. In this case, I'm going to use a first potential realization ticket just to skip that. But that's what you would do if you didn't have one of these tickets. These tickets these days are usually given away through events. I believe there may be some available in the emblem track. But in general, these are not very useful if you've built out your roster. So they are very, very rare, but they only work on native tier 1 heroes, and it only saves you a maximum of like 1 or 2 days, because the first potential is very, very easy to get for native tier 1 heroes. I believe you get at least 50% a day. And you often just boom to 100 right away. It's just that I've already done World Boss for today, so I would have to, you know, skip the recording of this video by a day if I didn't want to use this ticket. And because I don't have any other characters to use it on, it's just when new characters come in that this ticket would be useful. Now from here, if you got his first potential and you want to take him up to 70 to then flirt with tier 3, you're going to need to either, you know, build up his potential by using tier 2 materials and gold, or use a ticket. The cost here is 10 million gold if you do the 100% method, which costs the least amount of gold but the most amount of resources. You can see it starts there at 200, but it's going to build up to 2,000. So it does eat up quite a lot of black antimatter or chaos nornstones or cosmic cube fragments. It's 50 to start, but it eats up, I believe, like 400 or something like that cosmic cube fragments, all in all. However, you can also use those potential enhanced tickets. We get them from the bingo, and we get them from certain login events. As far as these tickets go, there isn't really a better character to use them on, because again, they're only available for native tier 1 characters, not available for native tier 2 or native tier 3. The only advantage is maybe to using them on X-Men characters, mutant characters that are native tier 1, if you were going to use these materials in the middle and on the right, because those materials in the middle and on the right for mutants would be Phoenix Feathers and Emkron Crystals. But if you were going to use Cosmic Cube Fragments anyways, then there is no difference between the different types of characters to use the ticket. But just to save time, I'm going to use the ticket here, but I just wanted to let you guys know that in case you're wondering, you know, who should I use that potential enhanced ticket on. It has almost equal value across all characters. Now that we've finished upgrading his gears to plus 25, we can go ahead and take him up to tier 3 as long as we have the materials. And again, it's going to be 10 combat books, 800 CCF, and all this other stuff. At this point, you could use, if you had a tier 3 ticket, that's I believe gold, you could use this here. But again, you would only use tier 3 tickets, regular tier 3 tickets. They're the same on all native tier 1 characters. You'd only use it on a character whose books are very valuable to you, because the books are the slowest thing to farm these days out of these 4 materials, believe it or not. So, you know, just keep in mind that the books are really what's going to hold you back, and what you should consider, you know, shifting around depending on the character. So he hammers on his shield there, and then he does the classic Captain America look back, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same, man. And there you go. We have a tier 3 US agent, Captain Walker, among the first people through the timeline quest. We're rank 4,000. Okay, we're not done yet. We're far from done here, but as far as his skills go, you're going to want to level up the 5th skill because of that damage proc, I believe. yeah, it's going to go from 35 to 60%. So you do want to level that up to get more of a damage proc. With the conflict agent, you want to level this up as well because it's going to increase his heal from 15 to 30%, and it increases all the frenzy buffs. The third skill, shield overpower, also want to level that up because it increases the physical attack buff by 6 times. And then this one actually too, you want to increase the barrier from 5 to 10. It doubles the barrier, so that is about 5 million gold that you have to invest there. Shield crash, clash, excuse me. You can leave this at level 1. I'm just going to level it up, but you're going to see very minimal improvement there on that skill, and he probably won't use that skill for the most part in PvP content. But there you go. Now we just have to give him some Uru and roll his ISO-8 set. As for the Uru, I just went with 8 physical attack for now. I went and amplified it until I got 4 amplification slots to save gold, and I got 5. Got lucky on the last one for the military knife, and I got all 5 amplified. As far as the rest of the Uru goes, I would say just to compare, if you want to play him as a character, compare his details page to what yours looks like, and see, you know, if you want to maybe max out his crit damage for more offense, or if you want to take him into PvP, maybe, you know, a bit more dodge, a bit more HP, a mixture of those things. And then, of course, if you wanted to get even more expensive, you could do Odin's Blessings, but that's sort of, you know, at your own discretion. As for the ISO-8 set, I went with Overdrive because my attack speed was already capped. If your attack speed wasn't capped, I would suggest Power of Angry Hulk. If you need a lot of skill cooldown, I would suggest Hawk's Eye, but you more ideally want to get that from cards and swords, and so I would try to choose between, or make it a choice between Overdrive and Power of Angry Hulk. For his type enhancement, I'm just going to use a ticket to bring him up to +5 because I have 6 of these now and I don't have any other characters to use them on, but I would just be, you know, use those at your discretion. I don't think he's going to be too insanely meta, and if you don't have many of those tickets, save it, or just keep his type enhancement low, you know, using the old using the smaller ranked ones that you have for 1, 2, and 3 stars. Keep in mind as well that US Agent, for pairing him in PvE content, he does have the leadership tag. It's very, very rare for characters to get this nowadays because there's already so many that have it, but he does have the leadership tag as well as the Thunderbolts tag. So you can pair him with White Fox, you can pair him with all of those characters, those cats, and he will do quite well. Now, as you can see from my build here, I don't have cooldown capped, and if I show exceeded stats, I'm way over capped on ignore defense. So if I investigate that and check out his 4th skill, I'll see that it was just auto-rolled to ignore defense. With characters that don't have uniforms, it's a bit more tricky to cap those really important stats like cooldown and ignore defense. So you just want to make sure you do that through the 4th gear and possibly through Uru if you have to. But this is looking pretty good here. From here on out, I would just give him an obelisk or a CTP and roll him into some content. As far as his skill rotation goes, it's very, very simple. 3, 4, 5. You can instant cancel 3 and instant cancel 4. You do get a bit of hit on 4, and you do get the buffs from 3, and then 5 produces the remaining amount of hits, and you get a very consistent 61 to 62 hits. It's not a huge combo, but that is what you would do for his damage proc. With the tier 3 charged up, you would just do 3, 4, 5, 6, and you would proc on that for your damage proc, as it has more hits and deals a little bit more damage. Not a lot more hits, but more damage. You also want to make sure that you aggressively cancel 1 and 2 in that combo to charge up his tier 3 as often as possible, because John Walker's tier 3 has accumulation, and that is what is going to ramp his damage significantly. So you want to be popping off Walker's Fury every other rotation if possible. As for John Walker's artifact, it does give him attack and ignore non-boss enemy damage decrease, which is a PvP trait. I don't think it's very important, and considering his, you know, score and his ability in PvP is going to be in question, you know, because he's missing iframe ignore and all those other PvP stats. I wouldn't worry too much about giving him like a max build or going all in. Some suggestions for the custom gear if you don't want to go beyond like a guard break invincibility proc obelisk, or a, you know, crit damage ignore dodge proc like that. You could go for a mini rage as well, but I don't see why, considering he's so proc friendly. But if you do want to go the route of a CTP for PvE, I would say an energy is a no-brainer. Gives him access to chain hit damage, gives him another damage proc to stack on top. And then for PvP, you could either go the way of an Insight or a Liberation if you wanted to make him more of a support for the Thunderbolt, like Yelena, Red Guardian, and possibly others coming next week. Or you could give him something of a more Disruptor role and give him something like a Mighty Regeneration that has penetration chance. I don't think it's worth giving him a, you know, juicier, bulkier role with something like a Mighty Conquest or a Mighty Greed, because those are, you know, more important to give to your main damage dealers, and I don't think that, you know, US Agent is going to be the main damage dealer. So as I would go as high as like a Regen or an Authority, but I wouldn't go to Conquest, Greed, and these higher echelon PvP CTPs, because they're just a little bit too valuable for the you know, dollar store, the dime store US Agent. Anyways, guys, this has been the rank up and build review for US Agent. I'll do another review of his abilities in-game in content a little bit later on, but I just wanted to bring this to you guys first and also give you those tips for Timeline Quest. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Hit us up on Discord, Twitter if you have any more questions. Thank you so much for watching the video. Smash the like button if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.